Gosh, we are to level 30, episode 30 of the show already. It's been a rough couple of weeks. We've missed a couple of weeks because of COVID, but we are back. We are full strength. We are ready to rock and roll once again. I'm very excited about this week's show. We have singer songwriter Stephen Like coming on the show and being my guest. And we have brand new music from Stephen today that's not released anywhere. You guys will get to hear it for the first time ever right here tonight in probably about 20, 25 minutes or so. But without any further ado, guys, let's get right into it with my friend Stephen Like. Stephen, how you doing, man?
Good, sir. How are you?
So we are live on the interwebs with Stephen Like on Facebook and YouTube and Twitch. Gosh, we have so many damn platforms. It's hard to tell what the hell's going on. So Stephen has come on the show with a brand new song that's not even released anywhere. So this is pretty much the first time it's going to be played anywhere, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, it actually comes out this Friday, Friday the 13th.
And it's called "Here We Go Again." We're going to get into that song a little bit in a little while, but let's talk a little bit about background. Where are you from, man?
So I'm originally from Garland, Texas. I currently reside in Rowlett, Texas. I moved one whole town over, but I've been here for about 25 years now.
So Garland, Texas. So do you play a lot of shows out that way, or are you more of an in-house singer songwriter? Or
Yeah, I've started to play a lot more this year. I started playing guitar. I picked up the guitar during the pandemic and started songwriting just a couple of years ago. So I'm still somewhat new at all
wow,
this. Yeah, so it's been a journey over the last 5 years or so. But yeah, so this my initial EP's coming out and the first single's coming out from it. So yeah, again, doing more shows this year. I did a handful of shows last year, kind of getting my feet wet, and doing a lot more shows this year. So
so started songwriting because of the pandemic, but was there any musical background prior to that, like, or just all of a sudden?
yeah, yeah. So back in high school, my late teens, early 20s, I played drums. I used to be a drummer in like a rock heavy metal band way back in the old days, and then had a couple of kids and got married and went to college and all those things. So yeah, I put music on the back burner for a long time. And then, when the pandemic started, I thought, what better time to learn how to play guitar? There didn't have much else to do at the time. So
Yeah, I mean, being a drummer in a metal band and being a singer songwriter with an acoustic guitar is like worlds apart, isn't it?
yeah, it really is. And right behind me, you can't see it, it's not in the picture here, but my old drum set, I finally got it put back together recently. So I'm not the drummer I once was. I'm definitely a better singer songwriter at this point, but I still like to bang on some.
So, how would you describe your sound, your genre or style?
I mean, country, I guess is what you would call it. It's Americana, a little bit of both of those things. I think I'm a lot like other people where you don't really know what genre you really fit into. But somewhere in that avenue, I think is where I'm at.
Yeah, I mean, boxes are bad anyway, right? When it comes to music, but like when you're in Texas, I always think there's like two kinds of music, right? Country and western.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So, what's the scene like out your way, out in the Garland area and Rowlett and all that?
Yeah, so when I first started trying to go and hit up the mics and get in front of people and playing, I went out to Hunt County out in Royce City. For me, it was far enough away that I could go out there, and if I went out there and bombed, I didn't know anybody, and I could just come home and sell my guitar on Craigslist. But I stumbled upon a really good community out there. So Hunt County has a lot of great singer songwriters out that way, and a lot of support from a lot of people out that way. And I know we're going to talk about Braden Stewart's song a little bit later as well. But he's a young kid out of that area that's making big moves right now and doing a lot of cool things. So
Yeah, I love that. And so, are you saying you're pretty much self-taught as a songwriter, or have you had some mentors and co-writes along the way as well?
yeah, back in I think it was the end of 21, I went to a singer songwriter weekend retreat at Courtney Patton's house, and Jason Eady was there as well. They were married then still, and James Wilson was there too. So I was kind of like dipping my toes into songwriting at that point. I wasn't sure it was something I really wanted to do. I didn't really have any clue on how to do it necessarily. So yeah, after that weekend, it really inspired me to kind of take a stab at it and see what I could do with it.
So, what was it that you brought home from that? Because I mean, that's three phenomenal songwriters right there in the same room.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a lot of the basics really. It was just, kind of how to structure a song and things like that. Just a lot of the basic stuff, but just hearing other people that were more experienced than me asking questions that I didn't even think to ask. So I did a lot of listening and a lot less talking during that weekend. I would like to go and do something like that again. I've looked at a couple and I haven't pulled the trigger on one yet, but I think it'd be good to go back now that have some more experience and get some more wisdom from the mentors.
There's a lot of online ones you can like look into as well. Songtown USA is a real good organization to check out if you haven't heard of it yet. But
No, I haven't heard that.
yeah, you definitely need to check it out. I need to do a video on Songtown for sure. What's your process look like? Are you like scheduling time for yourself to write songs, or is it kind of out of the blue and just coming out of the heavens, or how does it work for you?
Yeah, it's mostly out of the blue. After that songwriting class, they kind of try to teach you to, get up in the morning and try to write things before you look at your phone or really do anything else. And I did that for a little while. It wasn't the best way for me to do it. I get inspired most of the time when I'm going on walks with my dog or something like that, or driving down the road. All the places where it's not safe to type
Yep.
the words that you're thinking of. But that's where I get most of it from. It usually starts with words for me, and I try to figure out the music from there. I never really have like a melody first, and then start writing words to it. I have one or two songs that kind of came out that way, but for the most part, it starts with the words, the lyrics, and then the music comes
Yeah, the
second.
words pretty much write the melody sometimes anyway, right? Because just
Right.
the enunciation and the intonation that they are, and I mean, just I'm not a songwriter. I don't know how it works, but I just know that I've talked to a lot of songwriters, and a lot of times the lyrics just fit, and like no other melody would work with that lyric.
Yeah,
It's just
that was
very,
the thing early on for me too. It was, I didn't know how to say what I wanted to say on the guitar.
mhm.
I'm still to this day not a great guitar player, but it's like finding the right chords and things like that. That a lot of that again early on, just being self-taught, I had to just figure it out. But yeah, most of my songs are pretty simple. Three chords and the truth kind of stuff for me. It's more about the lyrics and the meaning behind
And
the
what's the
lyrics.
subject matter look like for you?
Oh, that's a great question. When I first started writing songs, I wrote a lot of sad stuff,
Yeah,
a lot of sad songs, and yeah, it was mostly that for a while, and some family stuff thrown in there, and missing your hometown and things like that. Those kinds of things. I don't sing about pickup trucks and tailgates and drinking cold beer stuff
good
or
for
whatever.
you, man. Good for you.
Nothing wrong with that kind of music.
Yeah.
Everyone to do what they want to do, but that's not what comes to me naturally.
Well, yeah, and I mean that's not going to tell your story either, right? So
Right.
I mean, you want to try to
Yeah,
tell your
yeah. A
story.
lot of my music has either full portions from my story or parts of my story, and then I'll mix in things from other people I know or other things I'll see in the world to try to finish out the song. But a lot of it comes from personal stuff.
So you find yourself able to write from other perspectives as well, then is what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah, and early on too, it's like how much of your own truth do you really want to put out there in your lyrics? It's
Yeah,
it's a vulnerable thing, and then you always get asked questions about your lyrics later on too. So then you have to explain to people,
yeah,
you
it's
know.
reliving the hurt over and over again, especially if you're doing live shows and you plan on making, kind of making some money, putting the songs out there in a live situation. Yeah, you're rebearing your soul every show.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's funny you say that because Courtney, who we just talked to not too long ago on the show, was talking about a grieving process that she goes through in every song she writes, which was super into like innovative and insightful. Going through an actual grieving process, and then once you've grieved the song, then the song doesn't really hold as much control over your vulnerability as it once did. This is cool stuff, man. That's why I love doing this and chatting with creative people.
Yeah.
What's it look like for you in the studio?
So this is the first time for me in the studio ever earlier
Yeah,
this year. So I kind of got nudged into doing it sooner, not sooner than I wanted to, but I think I needed to do it sooner than I probably would have. There's a drummer that I had set up that's a local guy too, Mayo Valdez. He's Charlie Crockett's drummer. He's
yeah.
from Garland as well. We're from the same neighborhood. And basically, I recorded in February and March of this year, and he told me like in January when I asked him about recording this year, he's like, "Well, after March I start going on the road, so if you want to get me in the studio, you need to do it sooner than later."
Mhm.
So that's really nudged me into getting in there. And my friend Brandon Cowley's played bass on the album as well. He introduced me to a guy named Michael Smith that runs a studio called Sunland Sound that's in Dallas. So between those guys, that's what kind of really nudged me into getting in there sooner than later. And I mean, they're all pro level musicians. I had Milo Deering played steel guitar for me on a couple of songs. Orion Pitts from Justin Pickard's band is playing fiddle on there. Michael Smith, the guy that owns the studio, also plays lead guitar, so he played lead guitar on the album plus B3 organ. And a friend of mine named Bobby as well played piano. So it was cool for me. It's like all the people I've met over the last couple, 2 to 3 years doing open mics and things like that. It's all people I've met along the way. So like I knew everyone that played on the album except for Milo. I've never actually met
Yeah,
Milo.
Milo's an incredible guy. Incredible
Yeah,
guy. One of the most talented people anywhere, really. That man can
yeah,
play anything with strings on it, man. I swear to God.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
um,
And I didn't know who he was until Michael suggested him. I was like, yeah, if he's this amazing steel guitar player, sounds good to me. I don't have any preference. I don't know any steel guitar players. And then I
I
found
mean,
out
if
who he
it's okay
was
for Don
after.
Henley, it's got to be okay for the rest of
Yeah,
us, right?
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is debut everything for you, man. Like, it's your debut this and
Yeah,
debut that.
yeah,
So it's
yeah. Because
gonna
like
be.
going to the
Was it nerve
studio and
wracking for
doing
you getting into the studio? Just like a little bit of nerves and stuff like that.
it was for sure because like I don't play to a click a whole lot, to a
Yeah.
metronome or whatever. I think I have decent timing, but you really figure out how good your timing is or isn't when you get into a studio. So playing to a click track is something I wasn't really familiar with. So doing that stuff, and then also too, just I've been a solo acoustic guy since the beginning. So hearing other instruments in there, like they first ask you kind of, what do you want to do? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, drum beats, I can have an idea because I've a background in that, but when it comes to lead guitar and stuff, I don't really know what to
Right.
do.
Yeah.
I had great players that came in there and just knocked it out of the park for me. So I was lucky in that.
And when's the record due to come out? The full thing.
So the full EP is going to come out on August 8th, and I have an album release show, a full band show that I'm going to do at Sweetwater Grill in Union Valley, Texas.
All right. And you're gonna waterfall singles up until that point, like once a
Yeah,
month or so.
yeah, yeah. So here we go again. It's coming out this Friday the 13th, and then a month from then we'll have another single that will come out, and a month after that will be the EP release.
Yeah, that's smart, man. I like that. So let's talk about the song, man. Here we go again. It's the debut single of yours. Um, Tell us how the song came to be and what it's about and everything.
Yeah, it's kind of a funny story. This one, a friend of mine, Daniel McCullough, is learning to play the fiddle. He's a couple of years into it now, but he was like the only person I really ever got a chance to play with very much. And early on, he's like, "Man, all your songs are sad and slow." He's like, "You need to do something more up tempo." So what did I do? I took a sad song and made the tempo faster, and that's how we came up with "Here We Go Again."
I love it.
So yeah, I mean, but the song, the overall, you know point of the song, I guess, is how depression and things like that can just show up at your doorstep sometimes. You'll just wake up one day and it just hits you, and it's not always from something in your life happening. You just wake up one day and that darkness comes upon you and it's there.
Yep.
So I tell my kids, I was like, there was a time where people would just like show up unannounced to your house, an unexpected house guest. So that's kind of how the song starts out. It's talking about the front door's wide open, all these things that like you can't pretend like you're not there because the door's open. They can see inside. So that's sort of what it's about.
I love
Yeah,
that. And depression doesn't need a reason, man. Like I think that's I think the biggest thing about depression that people that don't understand depression don't understand is that, man, you can have everything in the world, everything you've ever dreamed of, and still be clinically depressed. Like I know people that
yeah,
they have everything they could have ever dreamed of, and they couldn't tell me why, but they are still depressed. There's a difference between depression and sadness, and you just have to understand and try to understand the difference between those, especially if it's somebody that you love that's going through that.
right.
It's rough, man. It really, truly is. But let's talk about Steven's pick of the week, and then we'll get into the music. Steven's pick of the week is a songwriter named Braden Stewart. The song that you've picked is called Bandages. Tell us why you picked this one, man.
Yeah, so his album just came out, I guess, 6 weeks or so ago, and it's really doing really well. I like all the songs on the album, and when you asked me the other day what song I wanted to put on here, I looked at the one that had the least amount of listens, at least on Spotify, and I love all the songs, and I thought Bandages is a really good song that doesn't have as many spins as I think it should. I think it's an amazing song. I mean, lyrically, Braden's 20 years old, but he writes lyrics like he's 50.
Isn't
You
it
know,
isn't it sickening how the young people can do that, man? I freaking hate it,
it
man.
really is. And when I started doing the open mics out in at Sweetwater Grill out there in Union Valley, he was coming there then, and he was 17 years old when I met him,
Yeah,
and he was some bounds above what I was, and still is, and it's surpassing me. No, but I mean, he's an amazing kid, and I mean, I say kid, he's an adult,
yeah,
but I mean, he's a super nice young guy. I mean, I saw him, a couple months ago at an event, and he came over and talked to me, and like, he doesn't have a big head or anything. He's a super nice guy, and real relatable. It's cool to see from someone that's that young. I mean, I
yeah.
have children that are older than Braden,
Yeah, it's
you know,
crazy.
so it's
I don't
like,
know if you know Jack Barksdale, but Jack's been singing and songwriting since he was like 9, and
yeah,
I think we interviewed him on the show when he was 10. And
not really.
golly,
Yeah,
man,
I saw him.
everything this kid comes out with is so deep and dark, and I'm just like, dude, where are you
Yeah.
coming up with this stuff, bro? Like,
Yeah,
it's
exactly. Yeah,
yeah,
I saw him last year. I think last year or 2 years ago in New Mexico, in Red River, New Mexico, is the first time I've seen him play.
yeah,
But that's the way Braden's lyrics are. Like I said, I mean, if you really listen to his album and listen to the lyrics, it's like, man, it's like you think someone else wrote it.
exactly.
I think there's 9 songs on this album, and I think that he wrote 6 of them. The other 3 are covers from people he knows and things like that. But I mean, yeah, all the ones that he's done, and even the ones that I've heard that were earlier singles before the CP came out, and other things I've heard him play at an open mic that he's played maybe a couple times, never played again. It's just like, yeah, just super duper amazing guitar playing, and then lyrics are just
Yeah.
it's been his years for sure.
Well, I'm excited to. I always blind react the pick of the week, so I haven't listened to the song yet. So I always blind react it, and
Yeah,
it's for a selfish reason, man, that we do that segment is just to learn about new people, not just as an audience, but as a host. Like I love learning about new artists all the time. So it's so cool
yeah,
having the pick of the week and having our
yeah.
special guest pick a song as well.
Yeah, and one of my favorite parts of the whole song is at the very end. There's like this really cool drum fill that kind of finishes out the song. So, the whole song's amazing, and that's why I picked it. So,
Awesome, man. Thank you for doing that. And if people are wanting to support you, what's the best way to do that? Your social media, stuff like that.
yeah, it's Stephen STEPHEN underscore LIKE on Instagram, and this is Stephen Like on Facebook. That's the only place you can really find me now. And as of this Friday the 13th, I'll have my first single out. So I'll actually be on streaming platforms. I don't have anything on there as we speak now, but here in a few days we
And are
will.
you going to sell digital copies of the single and record as well, or are they just going to be streamable?
I think just all streamable.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's on iTunes, and I think people can purchase it, but I'm sure most people stream these days.
Yeah,
So
yeah, most likely. Well, Steven, I appreciate you, man. Thanks for hanging out with me. We're going to get into the music. We'll play yours, we'll play Braden's, and then probably another hour and a half. You're welcome to hang out with us and chat if you want, and I appreciate you coming on, man.
yeah, thanks, Chris. Thanks for having me.
No problem, man. You have a good rest of your night.
All right, you too.